Guys, I don't know what's happening. Something weird is going on. Every time I try to introduce myself, it just cuts me off in these videos. Every time I try to say anything like, hi, I'm Connie, and welcome to... Oh my god, it did it again. Sorry. Let's focus. Um, Hi. We're here with another episode of Invincible. Season 2, episode 3. And shit's getting pretty crowded. And I believe I talked about this last time. There's just so goddamn much going on. And I think this happened in season 1 as well. I think there was kind of the same issue. And it's the one thing I think I have a problem with regarding this with this show. It's like we have hour-long episodes. That's fine. There's a lot of shows that do that. But they jam-pack them with so goddamn much. And I don't know like how the comics are originally done. I'm sure there's some differences here compared to the comics. I'm sure there's some notable issues with like, adaptation. You have to change some things around. You have to do some things differently. Um, but I'm just kind of wondering, like, why are they still like forcing in so much? I'm sure they're trying to be like as accurate to the comics as possible, but again, it feels like it's really really overcrowded. Like you have so many plot lines going on at once, it's hard to keep track of everything. It's hard to remember what went on last time. And I understand that a lot of shows on streaming services these days are made for binging. So almost in a way you're not supposed to remember everything because you're not supposed to need to. Because you're going to just binge watch this series in like a couple like goes, a couple sessions. But I don't do that. And I feel like a lot of these people, these producers, these directors, etc., have to understand that not everyone's going to do that. Not everyone wants to do that. I record these like once a week. And yeah, I feel like I'm just being overwhelmed with everything happening. And I think it's more apparent than in the first season, because in the first season you're really introducing all these characters and plot lines, and it makes a little more sense that it'd be a little overstuffed. But now it's just getting to the point where it's like you have like 6 plot lines going on at once, and it's like that's a bit much. You don't need all of that. You really don't. Or at least it should be spread out differently. It should be paced differently. Like I like the storylines for what they are. I like the characters. I like the drama, the excitement, the um general idea behind everything. I just don't like how it's, executed. And I don't know like what other people think of this specific issue because I know this is a popular show. And I know season 2 did well. I know people have talked positively about it. I've luckily avoided pretty much every spoiler I could on what actually happens, but I've heard people talking positively about it. Um so it's like what do people think of this specific thing? What do people like, do they have an issue with this as well? Or am I like one of the few who does? Because it does hurt my enjoyment because of how I watch it. And I wonder if maybe like the people who do watch this more spread out have this issue while the people who binge it don't. It's just like there's so many plot lines to try and keep track of, and it's like I feel like I'm going to like forget about something. And it's like again, I like what they're doing. Like I like Mark's and Debbie's struggles with trying to reconcile what had happened in season one, especially in regards to, Nolan. It makes sense that they would be going through this depression and this confusion, this anxiety, and all of these other emotions. It makes sense. And I like seeing that portrayed because it's believable considering what happened. And showcasing the stuff with the villain, it's like, okay, we're building up this main villain, why he would possibly have it out for Invincible, and especially after what happens in episode one, with his mind being scrambled and literally driven to like a multiversal level of insanity. It's like, yeah, it makes sense. Build up the villain. But then you have like all of these other storylines. You have this storyline with Eve trying to do good and ending up like messing up because she just doesn't have the knowledge and everything. She's doing good things, but without that knowledge, it causes a little bit more trouble than expected. And it's like, okay, I can kind of get behind that, but then you have like the Justice League. I can't remember what they're called. Guardians of the Globe, right? That's it, I think. The Guardians. Let's just say that. And the entire thing going on with them, and like the changes in leadership, new people being brought in. You have Cecil being as skeevy, I think is a good word for it, as ever, because he's not a bad guy. He just runs things weirdly poorly. Like for someone who should be a lot more well informed, the entire thing with like not understanding the Atlanteans changing in ideology and stuff, and their how they handle situations is really fucking weird. Also, he's like hiding this shit about like what the hell's going on with Donald, I think his name is. Um, how he's alive and everything. And it's like, okay, sure. Then you have the fact that, Mark and Amber and all them are getting ready for college. It's like, and so much more. And it's just like, I feel like I don't have room to breathe. It's so much happening that it's like, it just doesn't give me any time to really, like, concentrate on any storyline. You can overcrowd a series with plot points. I feel like most shows have an A plot and a B plot. Maybe occasionally a C plot. But that's about it. But this has like so many more. D, E, F, and it's like, come on. You don't need to do all of this. I understand there's a larger cast of characters. I understand there's a lot going on. But it's like, even with the plots that they have, they're doing so much with them. Like, they did so much with Mark in the last episode. Just went from plot point to plot point to plot point. And it's like, okay, slow down. We can have more time to focus on each of these plot points. We really can. And again, I like what they're actually, like, showing. I like the concept behind all of these plots. I like the character growth and everything happening. It's just, it's too much to throw at a person in a single like 45-50 minute episode. And again, maybe that's just me, but it's like when I'm like trying to like watch week to week and I have to try and remember things, have to try and really like absorb information and come back to it a week later and everything. It's like I'm gonna have a harder time doing that if you just keep stuffing things in. Plus, it just doesn't give certain plot lines the time to shine that they really should have. It just feels like you're taking away time that could be given to big plot points and everything, and instead are just like throwing more at us. More doesn't always mean better. You have to execute those plot lines well too. And rushing through them is because there's so many other plot lines to also show is not necessarily great. And it can be done. It can be done. I know this that was only episode 2. We're only going into episode 3 now. But when you have seasons this short as well, it really makes it feel like things are going to be rushed. I feel like this works better when you have a series that is just longer. Like if this were like even a 13 episode series or season, or especially if it were like a 2 core length where it's like 24, 26 episodes, I think that would work exceptionally better because it would allow for more time for all of this to, really have that time to be spread out and everything, have that time to be developed properly. But with like, what is it, like 7, 8 episodes for the season? It's like, that's not enough. When you only have that many episodes, it's like you're not going to be able to give each of these plot lines the attention they deserve. And because like it might be brought up, I'm going to bring it up now just to be safe. One Piece. Because there are certain arcs of One Piece that do this, because there's such a large cast of characters between our main characters, characters who are focused on the arc, etc., etc. For example, the Dressrosa arc of One Piece. There are a shit ton of plot lines going on at once, to the point where you can't even see them all in every episode. But that's the point. In terms of the original manga, every chapter. When Oda wrote it, it's like you'll go multiple chapters without seeing a certain plot point. And that's because Oda didn't want to stuff everything into one chapter. It's like, oh, we have like 6 or so plot lines going on at once, but you might only see 2 or 3 in a single episode or a single chapter because Oda didn't want to force everything in it. He wanted each storyline to have its time to shine, to be able to breathe and be able to get out what it needs to get out. So that's why he goes back and forth between them, but not all in the same episode. And that's why it works as well that One Piece has so many more episodes, why it's so long. It needs to be this long, especially for arcs like this, so that these storylines can work better. Like, trying to cut this down just would take so much away. Of course, I'm not going to get into that entire One Piece debate here, but you get the point I'm trying to make. With One Piece, it paces it out well by not having every storyline be in every episode. When you have like 6 or 7 plot lines, it's like you'll go like 3, 4 episodes without seeing like a certain plot line. Because Oda and the crew at Toei and stuff are trying to focus on 1 or 2 at a time to allow it to have that room to breathe, to have that room to really, work from a storytelling, from a visual perspective, etc., etc. And that's why I think One Piece is kind of, in my eyes at least, the gold standard of juggling all of these different plot lines. But I feel like I've talked about all of this for so long now. I know these are some long pre-thoughts, but I really wanted to get this out because it's like that was something that since last week has been bothering me about this season so far. Episode 1 wasn't even as bad, but episode 2 got like really bad with it. And I feel like this show really needs to kind of get that together if it's going to make all of this work. At least bring some of these plot lines together, like merge them into one. I think that'll help too. But we'll see how it goes. Let's just get into this episode. Again, sorry for the long wait. Let's just get into this and hope for the best. Cutting in here real quick to remind you of all the awesome content we have on the channel. Between Monday and Friday, we have a plethora of awesome series reactions with 2 on Wednesday. We also have movie reactions every Saturday and Sunday. I do pre-record them during the week, but upload them on the weekend. And don't forget about all the gaming content over on the Princess of Gaming channel. We have Baldur's Gate 3 every single day, Horizon Forbidden West on Mondays and Fridays, Tuesdays and Thursdays is Life is Strange, Wednesdays and Sundays is Red Dead Redemption 2, and on Saturdays we have Nier Automata. A lot of great gaming content every day. Don't forget to click the link in the description below to follow it to today's reaction. I redirect everything just due to copyright reasons. And please subscribe to the channel and like the video if you want to see more awesome content such as this. So thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you at today's reaction. And we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. So sorry about the lighting and everything. The sun's like starting to come down. It's 3 p.m. I hate that it does. I hate that it does this. I know I like keeps talking about this like every time, every episode of every show I'm reacting to whenever I'm recording at this time. But it's like I just feel like I need to keep mentioning it just for anyone who might be coming in and might not have seen other stuff. So yeah, sorry about the lighting. It's just thin curtains, not great coverage from the sun. So anyway, this episode tricked me into thinking it was almost over by having the credits like start in the middle of the episode. I think season 1 probably did that too, and I just can't remember exactly when. But yeah. Also, by the way, there's like the tiger like person on the council. Was that like the same race as the one from season 1? The one who like fought and almost killed Mark. And the rest of the Guardians who at the time were the team, I think. Yeah, the big, like, kind of scary tiger guy from the first season. I think it might have been the same race, because it looked very familiar. It looked very similar to me, from what I remember. It's been a while since I've seen season 1, but still. Also, Daveed Diggs' character, I was looking up, he's, the one I was asking about is Green Ghost's partner. The one who, started being mean and rude to Debbie after finding out. Again, we understand his feelings. His anger, his reaction is understandable. Not really fair, but understandable. It's like, it's not fair of him to expect her to have known, because he like didn't show that side of him to her. There were hints, there were moments where he got like needlessly angry and stuff, but that's about it. And that people face that all the time. And it can be unhealthy, it can be bad, but it's not really a sign of that, you know. It's a lot more aggressive. And again, it's not fair to also blame her, especially when she opened up about, like, you know, wishing he were dead and not really like happy with what happened or how that turned out, plus, you know, her son almost being killed by him. It's like, you gotta understand that she's gone through so much hell because of this. And it's like, he's not like attacking her or anything. He's just telling her not to come back to the group because he doesn't think it'll feel safe if she's around. Because he's blaming her. He's putting the blame on her for this because she didn't realize. But it's like, even if she did, what would she have done? Again, he's not thinking clearly because he's upset. And he's allowed to be upset. Like, his partner died. And he clearly cared greatly for her. He's allowed to be angry. Taking it out on her, taking it out on Debbie is not great, but I will say, this episode felt a lot better in terms of how it balanced things out. And I think that's because it didn't have as many plot lines going on as last episode. And a good portion of it, like the entire first half of this episode, was dedicated to the Alan stuff. With only a couple with 3 plot lines happening after that, because you had the stuff with Debbie, you had the stuff with Mark, and then you had the stuff with the Guardians, which started with Rex and Kate, but ended out with Rudy and Amanda? I like think of her as Monster Girl more than I like think of her name. I think it's Amanda. And if you want to count those as two separate things, then yeah, there's five plot lines going in. But the way it was paced out was better in this episode. And I think having half of the episode just uninterrupted focus on Alan was part of the reason why. So let's talk about that part first. So the Alan half of this episode obviously is setting up a lot. I don't think the narrator was necessary. The entire narrator bit. Okay, it wasn't completely uninterrupted. By the way, it did like switch over to Mark and Amber and stuff during that, but it was mostly uninterrupted. But anyway, the narrator felt like a complete tonal shift that wasn't necessary. And instead of having like the Invincible title in this one, it had an Alan title, which I think that was like pretty fun, like a pretty fun switch up that people wouldn't expect. But the narrator I don't feel was necessary. The narrator felt out of place tonally. And even though like the Alan stuff was, you know, very different than what we normally get with this. Like the tone of the actual like things happening were mostly the same. The actual plot line wasn't like really tonally different. So the narrator felt very out of place to me. Also, hold on. Let me check something here. Because I just thought of that. I was saying that the narrator in that part sounded really familiar, and I didn't actually look up who that was. I didn't check in the cast to see who that was. Yeah, because Daveed Diggs was Theo and council member 2. I have it muted so you won't hear anything. Telia, by the way, Alan's partner, was Tatiana Maslany, who I think was in a couple characters in the last episode, but this I feel like is a bigger character. Jay Farrell played a few characters, but no one major, and not a narrator. Oh, there we go. Paul F. Tompkins. I want to look that up, because I was mentioning the narrator sounded familiar, and I know that name. I very much know the name, Paul F. Tompkins. American comedian and actor. Actually, he kind of does look familiar. Who are you? What are you known for? Oh, Tangled, apparently. Okay. Not like Bill Maher or something like that. Oh, apparently he was, I did do a first impression for BoJack Horseman. He's Mr. Peanut Butter in that. Okay. What else would I know you from, though? Oh, he was the open mic host in Tenacious D and the Pick of Destiny? Oh, that's fun. But yeah, he was Short Thug in Tangled. Oh, apparently he played Gallagher in the Weird Al biopic. He was a short carny in the Bob's Burger movie, which we reacted to. Let me see. Anything else like I would really know that voice from, though? He was in a couple episodes of Aqua Teen Hunger Force. One of them was pulled, though. So I don't think it would be that. He was in an episode of Community, but I don't think I would recognize the voice from that, of all things. He was in 2 episodes of Adventure Time, but is just listed as various voices, so no one major. 4 episodes of The Venture Bros as Blue Morpho. Again, like, there's roles here I'm recognizing, but I wouldn't, like, really recognize the voice from. He was Shorty in Tangled the series. Gladstone Gander in the DuckTales series. Justin from Big City Greens. Who's Justin? I think that sounds familiar. I need to get back to Big City Greens, by the way. Oh, he was the tail in Centaur World? That's funny. That's funny. Okay, well, there's one I definitely would recognize him from, but I don't know if that's where I recognize the voice. Oh, he was Ernie in The Ghost and Molly McGee. That could possibly be it. That could very much possibly be it. It looks like that was just like one episode, but still. Or two episodes, maybe? So I definitely know him from a few things, but it's like nothing like massive that I would like very much recognize him from. It's just little things. I want to see who Justin from Big City Greens is, though. Because I recognize that name, I feel. But it's such a generic name, also, so. Oh! Oh, yeah. I saw that episode. Yeah, they're the couple that come and stay at the Green residence when they do, like, the home share thing. Yeah, 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 yeah. I remember that. Okay. I don't think I would recognize his voice from that, though. Sorry for this long bit of time here just looking up the voice. I wanted to check that as well. So that's who the narrator was. But back to what I was talking about with Alan's story. So we find out that Alan's home world was destroyed by the Viltrumites. No surprise. From what we know of the Viltrumites, that seems like pretty in line. Though I don't know if we knew about that before. I don't know if that was mentioned in season one at all. Um, but we find out that the survivors, those who escaped their home world, ended up working with this coalition of planets kind of thing, this council, in order to fight against the Viltrumite Empire and their ever expanding colonization thing. And so they created this project that where they were trying to genetically engineer um, newborn of their species into anti-Viltrumite fighting machines. And the closest to being successful was Alan. Alan is exceptionally strong, is exceptionally tough. He has a lot of skills and powers and stuff that others do not have, and that their race just typically doesn't. He was the closest to success, but he still wasn't strong enough to take on a Viltrumite. He lost every time. And so we see how through this he ended up becoming, what he is now in terms of his job, his connection with the council and everything. And it seems like he's still well respected. He's still well liked, but it's definitely not what he was originally, meant to be. Now, we also see that he has this other character, Talia, something like that. I just looked up her name too, but Tatiana Maslany's character, who works for the council as well. I don't think it said her specific job, but they're together, and we see that. We see that they are a couple. We even get to notice that they have sex, like probably pretty consistently. But we see Alan talking to the council, and the leader of the council, Thetis, um, is very receptive to Alan's plans and thoughts on, Mark and everything, and the fact that this creates like a bit of a weak point in the Viltrumite Empire's plans. So afterwards, Thetis brings up the idea to him about there being a spy. There's this like talk of like the fact that this other world was attacked so soon after they joined the council. There has to be a spy within the council because of it. and tells Alan to do what he can to figure this out. And so while Alan is out with his girlfriend, he ends up getting attacked by the Viltrumites. And three of them specifically start asking him about all of this new information that they probably wouldn't have without this spy. He refuses to talk, though, and gets nearly killed by them. Like, his eye is knocked out of his head, his arm is ripped off, he's, like, completely fucked up. He's put on life support, and when Thetis goes to visit him after his girl leaves and everything, he's still technically alive, but Thetis, like, shuts down his life support and seems to be sorry about it, but it's made very clear that he's the spy, and it makes sense. He's the one who brought it up. I mentioned this myself, that in a lot of media where they have this kind of thing, it's the one who brings it up is usually the spy themselves, is usually the one, you know, pulling the strings, because they're going to be the least likely to be suspected. I brought up the Legend of Korra example with Aiwei, voiced by Maurice LaMarche, by the way. I didn't mention that, but amazing performance by Maurice. Yeah, it's just, it feels like the same kind of thing I've seen in various places. So I'm not surprised that he was the spy, but he did seem genuinely sorry about it. So I think he was genuinely friends with Alan, but he's acting on things because of, I guess, the news of the Viltrumite weak point being, you know, what happened with Mark and his dad. And so Thetis is either a Viltrumite himself or just a spy for them. But I'm thinking it's probably the former. I'm thinking like he is fully an integrated spy who is himself a Viltrumite. I don't know to what level, to what degree, but it's like, I feel like he's got to be so much more of an important character to be voiced by Peter Cullen, of all people. And so it's like, when you have someone that big voicing you, you have to be a majorly important character. And I feel like if he were just some spy who wasn't a Viltrumite, I don't think he would be as big. I think he probably is a Viltrumite himself. But it's also interesting that he does seem to have empathy. So there is a possibility that he could end up, like, you know, I guess you could say going down the same path as Nolan, to where he, like, stops being an aggressive aggravator. Of course, we don't know what Nolan's doing on the Bug Planet right now. So let's talk about that next. So Mark's getting used to going to college. He's at his dorms. He's not, like, started classes yet, but he's getting used to just the entire idea of being there and whatnot. He has sex with Amber, really cute and everything. But after all of this, he ends up being called upon by Seance Dog, his favorite comic book character, who in the end actually ends up being, let me see if I can get this name down. Let me check the credits here, because the name is different here. Nualzot, voiced by Rob Delaney. So Nualzot is from this bug planet, and he tells Mark, it's like, oh, we have these meteors coming down, billions of our species are in trouble, and even William encourages him to go. He actually, you know, is open and honest with Amber about what's happening, and she's okay with it because of that. She's like, never apologized for wanting to save lives and all, and that she'll tell Debbie what's going on. And so, yeah, which I'll get to more later, but that's notable too. So he goes, and after, I guess, 6 days, they arrive. And when there, he finds out that it was a lie to get him there. That, the entire thing about the planet being in danger and everything, the people there being in danger, was a lie. And we get our answer as to why pretty much right away when it's revealed that the monarch, the leader of their society, is somehow Nolan. So after leaving Earth, he clearly came here. Don't know why, but he clearly came here and is now the leader. Did he take over this planet, or did something else happen? Did it happen a different way? We don't know. We don't know the situation. All we know is that when he left, he was feeling regretful. He was crying and everything. He was upset. And he wishes it hadn't gone that way. I mean, that's pretty damn clear. So this might be the start of a redemption arc for him. I guess we'll have to wait and see until next episode to see where this goes. But yeah, I'm very curious about all of that. And again, it's clear why Mark was lied to, because Nolan knew that would work to get Mark to come up. And he knew that if Mark knew who was calling for him, he wouldn't have gone. So, yeah, it was a very smart plan. But I wonder why he invited him there. It's clearly for a reason. I'm curious about that as well. I guess we'll see. So, there's not too much to talk about with the Guardians thing. We find out why Kate is with the Immortal, because he's the only one who can understand her pain of having to, die over and over and over and over again. And that she connected to him because of that, because they have that shared experience. It's still fucking weird. And her excuse of oh, well, if you combine all of my lifespans together, all of my clones' lifespans together, I pretty much live the same amount of time. It's that's a stupid argument. That is so fucking dumb. But it's yeah, I understand the actual reason. It makes sense, but it's still weird. And it's not even just the idea that he's thousands or tens of thousands or whatever years old. Compared to her being early mid-20s or something like that. It's not even that. That's weird about it. It's that, because even, naturally speaking, he's, what, a 40-year-old man just by, physical aging and whatnot. And she's, super young, and it's, I don't know. It's just, they're barely out of their teens. And it just feels it feels a little weird. Usually I'm not a huge, I'm not hugely against the entire age difference thing. My entire thought is consenting adults, if they're both consenting adults, that's what matters. It's it may seem a little weird for a 25-year-old, for example, to be dating a 50-year-old. Because it's for just using that example, they would have already been an adult when the younger person was born. And it's yeah, I get that. I understand the weirdness there and why people would think that's weird. But my thought is still, if they're consenting adults and they fully understand what the age difference means and what it means for their relationship and everything, it's as long as they're actually, having a healthy relationship, that's kind of what matters. As long as it's not in a really weird situation. It's not the older of them, in this case, let's go back to the relationship at hand. It's not Immortal groomed Kate. It's not anything fucked up like that. They're both adults upon starting their relationship. It's there was no grooming or weird shit before that. Their relationship started with them both being adults. And yeah, again, I can see why some people would think it's weird, but it's like, as long as they both understand what this relationship would mean and how it's, how it would affect them both, then I think it's fine. They're both adults as long as they're being safe and healthy about it, whatever. I'm just like, my bigger issue is with Immortal kind of being a dick bag, but that's a separate thing. That's not even like really relevant to this episode as much. But after we get that entire conversation with her and Rex, we then shift over to Amanda going to see Rudy, seeing how he's trying to rid himself of fear and basically human emotion because he's finding it really harmful to his overall, job and all. But she tells him fear is useful, and so he works up the nerve to ask her out, and they go see a horror movie, they go eat a burger and stuff. They just, hang out and go on a date. And it's cute. I think it's a cute idea. I never really necessarily shipped these two, but I have no issue with it. And especially with Rudy kind of learning how to be human at the moment. That's definitely helpful. Um, it's a really, really cute kind of idea. And him, like, discovering how good fast food is for the first time is also really fun. I do really enjoy that. The stuff with Debbie at the spouses of superheroes meeting and everything. It's like it starts off really nice. She ends up meeting this guy, and yeah, it starts to go downhill the instant he reveals he's the ex-partner of the Green Ghost and everything. And how that shit all like went to hell. And he's very, very angry at Nolan, and that's clear. And it's understandable. It's completely fair. But the way he takes it out on Debbie and everything is not. Like, you get why he's like this, and he's right to be upset. But taking it out on Debbie, who had no idea, and it's like, that's not okay. That's not okay. I wonder if, like, he will get over that, though. I wonder if he will, like, start to change. And I wonder how Debbie's going to handle this, because she's in on the path of not doing well. And I mean, like, really not doing well. Between Mark going off to college, Nolan's betrayal and leaving Earth, which doesn't give her closure, as she pretty much said. Now, like, this was proving to be, like, something very helpful for her, like, therapeutically. This kind of going to hell because of, like, her oversharing a little too much because he overshared a little too much. It's just... And now, of course, Mark being off planet and everything, and she has no idea where he is. It's like things are going to spiral for her in probably a pretty bad way. She's going to be in a bad place. And that really sucks. I really feel bad for her because it's like she doesn't deserve all of this. All this anxiety and pain and fear. And it's just like she's going through hell. And I think, like, it's going to kind of probably culminate into something happening by the time Mark gets back. She's gonna maybe be gone somewhere, or like maybe be in a really, really emotionally bad state to where she's like Cecil has to step in and maybe like even get her admitted into a hospital. I hate to like say that. I hate to like put that into the universe, but it's very possible considering like how this is clearly all going wrong very quickly for her. I'm just really worried. Um but yeah, the like I said, the way that the storylines were handled in this episode were a lot better because there was a lot more it was paced better. I think and I hope that it was just episode 2 that was really poorly paced in that regard. Um, And I hope we get more that's more akin to this episode. I hope that more of this ends up being like to this level of quality in terms of pacing and storytelling and whatnot. Because episode 2 was not very good, in my opinion, mind you. But still, I just feel like hopefully this episode is a good sign. And I'm very, very curious and interested to see where this goes now. Because we know who the main villain of this season is, but he didn't show up at all in this episode. And so I wonder how long they're going to wait to like bring that back and really go into that again. They almost did with this when Nualzat or whatever his name was pretending to be from another universe as Seance Dog, but yeah. Um, I didn't even question that idea, by the way, of him being from another universe, because the entire multiverse thing was already brought up. It's absolutely believable that he could have been. I had no question that that was really happening. So I was actually more surprised that he wasn't Seance Dog. Um, but yeah, I'm very curious to see where this goes. As always, no spoilers, but let me know your thoughts down in the comments. And again, sorry for the lighting and everything. It's just something at this time of day I can't really help much. But yeah, thanks so much for tuning in. Any thoughts, questions, comments, leave down below. Just like I said, no spoilers. I want to continue going into this without knowing what's going to happen. So, for now, I'm Connie, and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.